Chapter 1. Seizing Lifespan. Under the blazing sun, with clear skies stretching endlessly, mountains surrounded the valley. The air shimmered with heat, the forest swayed gently, and a mountain breeze swept through the valley, bringing a rare moment of coolness to Guan, who stood in the garden. Wiping the sweat off his brow, Guan's eyes burned with focus as he stared at the vibrant flowers and grasses growing before him. Their brilliant colors defied the harsh sunlight, showing no signs of withering. Two other youths stood on either side of him, but unlike Guan, whose excitement was palpable, their interest was half-hearted. They idly wiped their brows, clearly unenthused. Before them stood a young man dressed in simple clothes. His appearance was ordinary, but his sturdy build and bright eyes exuded a quiet strength. This was Zhang Chunqiu, the senior disciple of the Medicine Valley, part of the Taixuan sect's alchemy hall. He was explaining the techniques for harvesting spirit flowers and herbs. "All the plants in this garden are first-tier medicinal herbs," Zhang Chunqiu said, in a firm, clear voice that carried effortlessly despite the scorching sun. "When harvesting, you must not uproot them. Cut them close to the soil, and immediately wrap the cut stems with the spiritual paper you have to prevent their spiritual energy from escaping." Guan gripped a pair of scissors in his right hand and held strips of white paper in his left, hanging on to Zhang Chunqiu's every word. Unlike the two beside him, Guan cherished this opportunity deeply. He had endured countless disdainful looks just to secure his place here. While others thought he was wasting his time and falling into obscurity, they had no idea this was his chosen path to power. "All right, begin. Harvest one plant each, and I will inspect your work," Zhang Chunqiu instructed. Guan immediately crouched down, carefully placing the spiritual paper beside a vibrant red flower. "Hey, man, you're way too tense," Meng Lang, the youth on Guan's right, remarked lazily. His luxurious attire hinted at his wealthy background. "Even if you mess up, it's no big deal. These are just basic herbs for low-grade pills. Back home, I wouldn't even give them a second glance." Meng Lang wasn't exaggerating. Guan was a mere servant, but Meng Lang and the other youth, Li Ya, hailed from affluent families. However, their mediocre five-element spiritual roots relegated them to servant disciples in the Taixuan sect, as cultivating immortality still demanded talent. Ignoring Meng Lang's words, Guan focused intently on his task. He carefully gripped the stem of the red flower and snipped it with precision. Then he wrapped the cut base with spiritual paper. Standing up, he handed the flower to Zhang Chunqiu for inspection. Zhang Chunqiu examined it and nodded with approval. "Good work. You're very meticulous." Guan said nothing, his eyes locked on the red flower in Zhang Chunqiu's hand. At that moment, words only visible to Guan appeared before him. "You have successfully seized 1 year of lifespan from the Scarlet Spirit Flower, Tier 1. Success." A wave of relief washed over Guan as a smile broke across his face. As he had suspected, only plants and animals imbued with spiritual energy could extend his lifespan. Guan's first experience of this ability was at age 10, when he accidentally knocked over a servant carrying a pot of spirit flowers. The flowers had spilled onto the ground, and he had unexpectedly gained 12 years of lifespan from the incident. The furious guard had demanded to cut off his hand in retribution, but the third young mistress, Ji Xiaoyu, had intervened and saved him. Guan owed much to Ji Xiaoyu. She was a rare dual spiritual root talent, sought after by major sects. She had brought 5 members of the Ji family into the Taixuan sect, including Guan, one of only 2 servants. Without her, Guan's five-element spiritual roots would have left him with no choice but to join a third-rate sect. While Guan reveled in his success, Meng Lang and Li Ya had also finished harvesting their flowers. Zhang Chunqiu collected the 3 scarlet spirit flowers into his storage pouch and announced, "Your task for today is to harvest 50 scarlet spirit flowers as a group. You must stay within this garden and not venture into others. Once you're done, bring the flowers to the pavilion." With that, Zhang Chunqiu turned and left. Meng Lang shook his fist at Zhang Chunqiu's retreating figure and muttered, "Such a simple task, and he had to lecture us for so long. Has he never had junior disciples before?" Li Ya flopped onto the ground, wiping sweat from his brow with exhausted fervor. Guan waited until Zhang Chunqiu was out of sight before turning to Meng Lang and Li Ya. "Brothers, judging by your fine clothes, you're clearly not used to this kind of labor. I, on the other hand, am just a humble servant. Why not let me handle the task while you find a shady spot to rest? Just remember to take care of me in the future." Meng Lang's eyes lit up with delight. "Really? Brother, you're too considerate. If you ever fall on hard times, I'll make sure you're fed and clothed for life." Li Ya, too tired to argue, gave a faint nod. As the two handed over their spiritual papers and walked off to rest, Guan turned back to the garden with shining eyes. To him, the scarlet spirit flowers weren't just plants. They were steps leading to the path of immortality. He got to work with meticulous care, determined not only to complete the task, but to do it well enough to keep this perfect opportunity. By the time Guan had harvested 50 flowers, his body was drenched in sweat, but his excitement hadn't waned. He carefully wrapped the flowers, placed them in a bamboo basket, and made his way to the pavilion. For Guan, this was just the beginning of his journey. The road ahead was long, but he wasn't in a hurry. All he needed was time, and he had just discovered the perfect way to seize it.